Good evening, everybody. How are we doing tonight? It is Saturday, July 10th? July 10th, I think. Yeah, so, been a bit of a long week, long day. Long week because I've been super distracted with the Scott Fishbowl Fantasy League draft. So I've been spending a lot of time on that. Thank you for the follow, Ivo Villa. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so I've been kind of distracted with the Scott Fishbowl draft, which happened this week, which started this week. It's still running. My team's doing pretty well, but that's been kind of dominating a lot of my attention lately. And today I spent a long time hanging out in the Women's Hockey Analytics Conference, Women's Hockey Analytics Conference, and that was a lot of fun as well. Kind of went over my head a lot, but you know, it was good. Anyways, so today, I'm going to keep pushing through this, and I want to keep pushing this forward towards being cran ready, whatever that means. So for me, what that means is all the tests pass, it's fully tested. All of the tests are mocked and cached. So I kind of wrote like very basic tests last week, and I kind of thought about it. I was like, okay, it does too much and it's too fragile. So what I think I'm going to do is test the individual components that aren't part of FF, like the parts that belong to ffsimulator I will test, and then the parts that belong to other packages I will not. In that way, basically all I have to do is worry about the contents of ffsimulator, and then ffscraper will continue to be tested separately on its own. So I want to rewrite the tests today so that they are not relying on ffsimulator functions, or they're not relying on running all of ffscraper and caching that. So ideally we don't do that. I still may need to do it for the vignette that I want to go with this, perhaps, but I'm not sure about that yet, so we'll kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. But basically I'll be working on writing tests today, kind of documenting some basic usage vignette and a custom usage vignette, talking about, I mentioned last week, I mentioned a long time ago, but I wanted to add an auto plot method. So basically I wanted to be able to just auto plot the output of ffsimulate. So for kind of ease of use, I want to try to just plot like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 plots or something. Not really sure yet. And then kind of just clean up the readmes, just kind of get it ready. So I don't know how long this will take me. I don't really have a research project on hand, so I'm not really like doing any main research, but I think I'm going to try to do, so I'm going to concentrate on this stream and finish that. Finish as much as I can tonight, so extend for an hour, for 2 hours at least, and then maybe 3 hours depending on how it goes. Just really trying to aim at getting everything sorted out as much as possible, and really finish the simulation today. Like try to finish as much as I can tonight before I kind of pass out, and then tomorrow I'll try to come up with some kind of research project to do, because I haven't really done data science. I kind of cheated last week and did dev on Sunday. I might do that again if I have to, if there's a lot to do. But if there isn't, I will try to do some research or some kind of viz or data science. So that's the rough plan. We'll see what happens. But that is the plan for tonight. So feel free to say hello, stick around, ask questions, whatever. And let's go. Okay, so I have a roadmap here. This now lives at ffverse, so I recently moved that. Actually, so I'm going to need to make sure I have the most recent version, which it now does. And wait. Yeah, GH pages, okay. And then I think I need to update my Git as well. I'm just gonna update there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think the first order of business is kind of rewriting these tests. So so this is what I wrote last time, and basically started mocking and capturing all of this stuff, which is okay. But really, what I want it to do is I want to test the outputs of the functions that are inside of ffsimulate. So rather than ffsimulate the top level thing, I want to test that everything that I wrote. So FFS ADP outcomes, latest rankings, pre-processing the data, generate the predictions, optimize the lineups, build schedules. I want to like write tests and work through this suite of packages, these suite of functions, and work on that instead of writing tests for the top level. So that's what I'm going to try. Rather than doing that. So I'm going to need to write a bunch of tests. The fastest way... I think I started some code. Nope, not that code. Okay. We'll figure it out slowly. Okay, let's see. So... the idea here is that we take as much of these functions as possible. So the first function that we're going to take is this FFS ADP outcomes, which is a function. We're going to load this package since we haven't done that yet. We'll take this latest rankings thing, make sure that we're able to do that. Actually, we'll just copy these wholesale. How about that? Okay. Right. Okay. Okay, so this is everything that the ffsimulator package currently has. So instead of testing it 4 times and going through all the possible permutations 4 times, what I think I'm going to do is have kind of like, so these are the functions that we need to test. Test the functions below. Trying to make this bigger so it's a little easier to read. Okay. Alright, so that works. That should work. That should work. Just going around and making it explicitly declaring which argument I'm going to use. That should help later. Okay, so I need to figure out all of the things that feed into these. I want to figure out all of the things that feed into this ADP outcomes, and I want to save them. So instead of saving 11 megabytes of this, which actually I'm just going to straight up delete this, and probably HTTP test as well. Actually, I'll leave HTTP test for now, because I want to make sure I want to use it to test latest rankings, because that goes to the internet. So I want to have the same internet testing facilities that I would normally otherwise. So Okay, so these are the unit tests. So these test the individual functions. We're gonna need a scoring history. So actually, so what we can do is copy all of the ffscraper functions, and then we'll write and or save the close that for a second. We'll write and or save the outputs of these functions, and we'll save those as mocked data. That way, it could just work. Anything else that we need here? We got scoring history, we got rosters, starter positions, and we need the connection as well. Season, league ID. Okay. Okay, so as far as writing tests go, what I feel like we should do is write these into inst. Is inst the right place? So I put it into inst, I can refer to it with system.file. Whereas if I put it into test/test that, I'll need to refer to test that. And I'll need to make another copy of the data for vignettes. Thanks for the follow, Arjun. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? We're in the middle of writing out, kind of like thinking through and writing out testing for this ffsimulator package. So I'm kind of reworking how I was testing it. I kind of started testing last week and realized that it wasn't very efficient. So I'm testing it. So I'm going to rewrite the test from scratch. Kind of a long day on Sunday or whatever. So hopefully we can get better testing here. Okay. So, well, let's just run these. Base season's not found. Okay, so base seasons, in this case we'll just use 2015 to 2020. So scoring history is 31,000 observations by 23 variables. So it is a relatively expensive function, and I have a feeling I don't need everything that's in there. I only need to save I don't know, 30, like the first 6 variables here and points. So in that sense, I could just use select. We'll use tidyverse to prep this. And ffscraper. Okay, so scoring history will select season, week, GSIS IDs, sport radar ID, MFL ID, player name, pause, team, points. And that should cut out to 9 variables, which is slightly better, I think. Rosters, 12 variables. Not all of that's necessary either, but let's see if we can trim it down. So we'll take we'll get rid of the salary. We don't need that. We don't need the contract years. This is a salary cap league, so in this case we don't need it. There's a few extra columns than usual. Okay, so that's 7 variables. So there's 700 players here, and actually there's no offense at this time. Actually, you know what I could do is I could use this. I could put this data inside of a internal data package, internal data thing, and what that would do is that would let me think about what that would do. That would let me just use it in vignettes as well. Problem is, if I do that in vignettes, I might have problems. Okay, well, I'm just gonna leave that. I'm just gonna leave that thought for a minute while I keep working through here. So, con is a list of 5 things, which is just nothing. Scoring, rosters, lineup constraints. Lineup constraints is a pretty small table. I don't think I want to get rid of anything there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save RDS files. Yeah. Yeah, so these would be the tests that I run on CRAN, and really not a lot should change. So I can just write it to test that, and hope it's a relatively small file. So let's say we'll call it cache con.rds. Okay, we need a folder named cache here, so we'll go cache. And now you should work. Scoring, history. Okay. Rosters. Lineup constraints. Okay. So that gives us relatively small files, right? We've got 158 KB here, 12, 265, and 209. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then what I'll do is I think I'll have a set of stuff that doesn't get tested on CRAN, that actually just runs the whole function, and I think I'll try to skip on CRAN the vignettes as well. That's kind of messy. I may as well test it properly. So I may as well test each of the components. Skip the integration tests on CRAN, but run them on GitHub Actions. Or just download test. Okay, because if I want to run the vignette start to finish, it makes more sense for me to use the cache strategy for the whole thing than it does for me to test individually. Because if I test individually, what will happen is the test will be faster to run. Actually, what we can do is just see how long it takes. So if I run test that, I'll move this to move. git checkout tests test that. It's gonna give me back a whole bunch of files. What's different about this? I think that's okay. Alright, so what I want to do is move this and put it elsewhere. Move to... we'll call it dev. Okay. So now if I run tests, which I can do like that, we can figure out how long it takes to run. But right now it's reading from the local version of the file. It seems to take a decently long amount of time. So that's how long it took to run the test for one file. And of course you have a problem here because it's going to be like that. But if I use this, then I can use one of these leagues in the vignette for ffsimulate and just download the data there. So it didn't take super ridiculously long. So maybe that's the plan. Yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. So, okay, so what I want to do is steal the redacts from ffscraper. We're going to copy this to ffsimulator. Make a new folder called inst, and we're gonna open that. This is gonna be called HTTP test, and save. So when we go back to our working directory, we have inst HTTP tests redact and request. Hang on, there's probably infrastructure for the NFL Weekly one as well that I want to put in here. ffscraper test that. Setup. No. It's in here. Skip this on crayon, just run the whole thing, and then for scoring history, I use this local mock function. So I'm a bit of a pickle, because this feels very heavyweight testing. But if I want to do the vignette properly, I will need to... Well, actually, if I do the test the way I had planned... If I do the test the way I had planned, and not test the whole thing, and then... only cache the stuff I need for the vignettes, I think that'll make it easier for me overall. And then the integration testing will only test, like GitHub Actions will test everything start to finish. And if something breaks there, it's my responsibility to fix it because I'm responsible for ffscraper. Okay. I think that's going to be the goal. Okay, so we'll continue on with our original plan. Go to working directory. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna delete that. That ffsimulate's gonna be useful later. So let's work. Let's put this back. Move to tests. Test that. Go. And we'll move this into dev. Move dev. Okay. So what this is going to do is we're going to read RDS everything. So con actually what it would be what could be useful is if I did MFL. So if I named these MFL, I could store different ways of doing like different league styles and because these are decently cheap. So cheap meaning storage space wise. So what I could do is run these and then delete this, duplicate this 4 times, and then have versions for ESPN and Sleeper. So Sleeper, oh wait. In selection, we're gonna replace MFL with Sleeper. Okay, perfect. And then we'll steal the league from our past test. This one. Okay, so ideally that should just work, right? We'll cross our fingers. Sleeper rosters may have a problem here. Yeah. So, sleeper rosters, just run it. Looks like this. So in this case, we can just keep everything. Okay, perfect. Lee. Cenobite, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Thank you for the follow. Flea Flicker. Welcome, welcome. I think I've seen you around. I think you've been on, I think Afton's stream, perhaps? Or Jesse's? One of the two. Welcome to the stream. Okay, in selection, look for a sleeper, and we're going to replace it with Flea Flicker. We're in the middle of writing some tests for a package that I'm working on, and kind of setting up some test fixtures so that we kind of have pre-existing data to work with. Okay, that looks all right. Okay, and I think this will just need Sport Radar ID. Run. All in all, pretty small files, so hopefully they compress nicely. And we'll do the same thing, but with ESPN. So we will go here, we will copy, we'll do the search first. Flea Flicker, ESPN, place everything that's in the selection there, and we'll copy the ESPN Connect statement from the old set of tests. And run it. Okay. Pretty good. Alright. So, if I strip all of this away, paste it here, and call it build test fixtures.r. Actually, I should move it. I should save it in data raw probably. Build test fixtures.r. Okay. And then in here, what I want to do is read RDS, a whole whack of files. What I think these tests are run relative to the test file. So maybe just cache espn con.rds. Actually, what I could do is just go list files cache. So let's set our working directory to tests. Test that, and then we'll list files in cache. We will there we will files map map so I'm going to take this, I'm going to get rid of the .rds extension, so name is going to be equal to gsub. Do I have string R in here? Well, I should just check that first. String R, yes. String remove all file pattern is .rds. Data is going to be equal to wait. Is this the right way to do this? So I just want to read every file in the cache and then name it based on what sleeper, what ESPN con is, I think. So maybe I should map over it first. Map dot file read RDS. And then, so we'll map over it, read it. That should give us a list of files. And then we can actually call this a transmute. Dplyr dframe? No, it's a tibble dframe. Nope, wait, I want to, so select dplyr, select name data dframe type dframe. Okay. That list of files, we got cache ESPN con, we've got cache ESPN lineup constraints. what I should do is to move either this or this. There. Okay. So, how about lists and then split? No. Groups? Well, what does split do? Meh. Okay. So now we have files. We've got ESPN con. So basically, I can pass in I can probably call this cache, actually. That seems to operate pretty quickly, too, so that's good. Okay, so cache, scoring history, simple. Yep, that works. So we got ADP outcomes with the simple model of injuries. And we'll also test to make sure that the ADP outcomes that are none ADP outcomes none, no injury, ADP outcomes. So we'll do the same thing. We'll use cache. We'll use a different one this time. We'll go ESPN scoring history, and injury model's gonna be none. Okay. So tests. Test that. Test. I think it's test that. Yeah. So encapsulates a series of okay, description. So test that. ADP outcomes works for both the injury, the simple, and non-injury models. And then put that there with its partner. Select those two, we'll move those up there. Okay, that works. And then the expectation is going to be a checkmate. Expect Tibble ADP outcomes. I don't think any should be missing. Should there be any missing? Let's say a minimum of 500 rows. Okay. For both the injury and no injury outcomes, and we'll also say that anything else we want to say about this. So it should have names, pause rank, prob GP, week outcome, player name, and fantasy pros ID. I think that's a good one too. So we'll go checkmate, expect. This is probably just to test that. So expect equal names ADP outcomes to be pause, rank. I can actually just look at these. Hang on. Pause, rank, prob, GP, weak, outcomes. Is there names here? Names. Checkmate, expect a subset. Pretty sure it's Fantasy Pros ID. And player name. Player name. Bump that to a new line. Actually, bump this to a new line. That will stay on the same line. Okay. Good. Okay, so we can test that it's there. I think that should be decent. If anything, any of that changes, then we've got problems, but I think we don't, so that's okay. Alright, so... So basically, with those tests, we should make sure that the ADP outcome stays stable. We're going to need to mock the FFS latest rankings. So let's say it's start library, HTTP test, start capturing, tests, test that, simplify equals screw. Actually, it's just to start capturing, stop capturing, start capturing, there. Okay, so then when we run FFS latest rankings, it will redact from ffsimulator, and where did it go? Is that cache? Huh. True. That's weird. Okay, we'll keep testing to make sure that we're all good. That's weird. I thought I had an inst. Didn't I make an inst for HTTP test? Dat.r. Okay, so it was telling me it was using that, so I want to make sure it's using the test fixture properly. Good. Alright, so now that that's there, I can do with mock API. We're gonna do tests that latest rankings returns a data frame. Unknown input format. Oh yes, it won't work from CRAN. I don't think this does anything, does it? That's right. That's why I wrote it this way. So I don't even want to test it here. In this case, I would just test it as part of the ffsimulate package that's run with the integration testing that gets skipped on CRAN. Probably. Okay, so not tested. Instead, we'll do latest rankings. Okay, that's... don't want to deal with that right now. Delete that. And that. And we'll just plop a copy of it in here. Call this latest rankings. Okay. So now when I run the cache thing, it should have 17 objects with the latest rankings. Okay. So I can test the preprocessed data, and then I don't need to worry about the Assuming that the data is pre-processed correctly, I don't need to worry about the optimized lineup because that's done the same way every time. So I'm gonna write tests that pre-processing works for the snapshotted data from each. Pre-processing works for the snapshotted data from each thing, basically. Works for the snapshotted data from each platform. I wonder if all these tests are run separately. I don't think they are. But I can probably look that up, actually. Are tests run in separate environments? Okay, yeah. I think that's okay. Okay, I think those are all the same. So we can test this later. We'll figure this out when we press run test. Okay. Okay, I pre-processed the data pretty good. Alright. And in this pre-processed data, it should have probably the same things as this. We're gonna plop that over there. This one only has 350. Bill, how you doing? Welcome back. How's your SFB league going? We're just writing some tests for ffsimulator, hopefully plugging away. You got back from the devil. You're on the clock. What league are you in? What do you have? Did did Josh fix fantasy ADHD yet? Let me see. I think he did. I thought he did. I swore he did. What league was it again? Data hasn't been updated in a few days. That's a problem. Satellite 9, Division 00. Okay. Can actually open a new session to do it in R because that's gonna be way easier. Yeah, my team's going okay. I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on it, but kind of look at the ADHD printout for it here. I think my team's doing okay anyway. Pretty excited. So far I've got kind of this. We're kind of in the weeds, but kind of got like a hero RB with quarterbacks, so that much is going well. And kind of like rolling with these three like zero-ish RBs. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, you've got a thing too. Okay, hang on. Let's see. Hey, look at my boredom sheet. Oh yeah, there you go. This is my team. Oh yeah, that's my team. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going okay. I mean, I'm kind of sitting here thinking about what I want to happen, and like what I'm gonna do. But okay, this updates the thing. You think about it in best ball mindset. Yeah, for sure. I need to find your team. Where is your team? Oh, there you are. Oh, okay. So now I'm looking at your Google sheet. Found you. Okay. Alright, let's look at your board. Who are you thinking about? You're on the clock, you said. Hey. It is thinking? Oh, hang on, I gotta change the division? No, it's just thinking. Okay. Cool. You're 2. McCaffrey, Tannehill, Akers, AJB. Okay. I'm with this. Yes. It gets better. Okay. So you're kind of like thinking, but you've got to be thinking about running back here very shortly. I think you're gonna soon think about running back. You could probably go. I mean, I am not in love with Engram, but like, yeah, what tight ends are here? So Komet's gone, Cook's gone. So I rolled Komet, Everett. You could probably still get Everett here, but honestly, I would probably go receiver. I'm not a fan of Ebron, but Everett, Firkser's not bad. JD McKissick. Cole Beasley. I don't love Cole Beasley. Did you write this? I don't think Peter would have written this. Import HTML. Neat. I made this. I don't know how quickly Kevin updates his ADP. And I don't know if he has satellite available, but you might be able to just use this link instead. Every hour. Or every 2 hours. Eric, how you doing? We're kind of looking at fantasy drafts while as a distraction from writing tests for my package. But we're just looking at our fantasy football teams. Yeah, so I'll drop this link here. I would use this. You'll want to change blob to main or to raw. You'll be able to include the second link I just sent in the chat as the as a import CSV, or I think import data. So this won't work, but this will. A long day with the kids. No kidding. Imagine. Weekend. Come on. Yeah, Andy Estridge uses it in the football workshop. Resource at URL contents exceeded maximum size. Oh, you wanted ADP anyway. There we go. Okay, so this will give you ADP, average, high, and low. The drafts I'm told is not working out as the CSV, but this should work. So this will give you something to do. So don't use the draft link. Apparently that doesn't work into Google Sheets, but ADP will work. So good luck with that. This does update directly from satellites every 2 hours, so hopefully a little more useful for you. Because I think the satellite contest is actually very different because it's best ball. So the ADP is less relevant, not more. So I think that's interesting to look at too. Anyways, that's my team. We are kind of going pretty. We're going pretty slow, to be honest. I say slow. We're on round 15s, 16, but today has been a long one. We waited for Clint for like 12 hours straight, so it's kind of frustrating. And like, you know, it sits on the clock at overnight and stuff too, so it took quite a while to get to me. But when I did, I was quite happily taking Jacoby and Mac Jones, so you picked it up. Good. Like, it's gone faster, you mean? Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Okay. So we're just writing tests on our data. I missed Sleeper. Sleeper. Okay, this one is 350. ESPN is 185, I think. And these ones are 399. Must have, so these two have at least 399, has 185. This is probably because I can't read which one is which. ESPN has 185, Flea Flicker has 399. Okay, and then the names of pre-processed data is going to be equal to, or must contain, So it must contain franchise ID, player ID, pause, prob GP, and weak outcomes. Pretty sure. Honestly, I don't see the purpose of testing it. If the first one worked, I presume the second one? Well, probably worth checking, actually. Doesn't take me very long to test, so... Everything I do uses MFLID, my friend. It is my home database, so the entire Dynasty process data system relies on the fact that that exists. So you can pull in all kinds of stuff, but you have to do a double index match to match Kevin's. Kevin isn't exporting his data. He has MFLID as his main ID as well, and that's because he uses some of my some of my ID data sets. But yes, it should work. Expected is a logical vector, true. Sleeper is 10. Expect subset. X with the choices. Okay. What is a disjunct? What does disjunct even mean? Disjoined. Separated. No. Oh wait. Maybe I just want the reverse. Okay, so maybe I just want that. Yeah, better. I just want to check that these things are in this and not the other way around. Okay, got it. That was my problem. Okay. I don't like that these don't fit super nicely, so maybe I will bump these inwards. It's not exactly consistent with itself because I don't usually do it that way, but I like that it all fits inside this guideline here. So, okay, so we now have that. So if I commented the other ones out, I can do that. Run test. Does R have linters? Yes. Well, there's a few of them. ADP outcomes not found. So these must be run in separate environments. Okay. And by linter, do you mean, like, does it check the syntax? Or do you mean, like, does it automatically format everything? I don't think of them as linters, but I should know what I know what a linter is, like, in the sense that it's like a grammar check, but I don't know how it works. I don't know what you think it means and whether that matches up with my definition in my head. Check formatting against rules and potentially correct. R is pretty forgiving, so it's more likely to most of the syntax rules are like most of the rules are like, what's the best way to say it? Most of the rules are like guidelines. R doesn't have problems with indentation mostly. It doesn't rely on that. So I could format how I break these up any way I want. As long as it's between these two parentheses, it's valid R code. Similarly, instead of line breaks, I could do semicolons, and that would still be valid. It doesn't matter how long the line is, or how vertical it's split. Those don't make a difference. So there is a styler add-in, so I can style my package, and it would just reformat all the code for me. But it's not a big deal at this moment. I'm just trying to make sure that these tests run. Also, welcome. I don't think I've interacted with you before. No method R35 to class null. Okay, so that one worked. Pre-processing works for this. No object of class null. Okay, what is your problem, good sir? Pre-processing number 21. So let's say we want to look at number 2. ADP outcomes is null. Okay, that's because I didn't super sign it into cache. It should work now. Yep, perfect. Okay, so I can pass from test to test if I super sign into something that's going to hold it. Okay, that's cool. Projected scores is going to be wait, did I miss a projection? So we got the preprocess. Did I miss a function? R0 preprocess. Ah, yeah, I missed the generate predictions call. Whoop. Okay, so let's say I want to do 2 seasons. That means I'm going to need 32. Well, nothing says I can't do 20. Preprocessed data. It's going to need to be cache preprocessed data. And I'm just going to cache preprocessed data. We're going to assign preprocessed data. And we're just going to pass from test to test. And basically, the tests will start failing. The test will start failing, and it will fail kind of in a domino effect. So you can't run the previous test without the next test, which isn't classically ideal, but in this case, I think it makes sense. Okay. Projected scores. So projected scores is 7,000 variables, 7,080 observations of 14 variables. So, I can test that they're all atomic, I guess. Returns a tibble, and specific columns. Thank you for the follow, Robert E630. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so welcome. We're in the middle of writing some tests for a package that I've been working on called ffsimulator, and just trying to make sure that the behavior stays consistent. So the idea here is we're going to take stuff from this table and generate predictions. So that should work. So we've got 7,080 observations. Actually, I can just take 10. I don't need it to be very big. Okay, so projected scores. So we're gonna expect that it's a tibble. Okay. With 3,540 rows. Okay. Well, 3,500. And we're gonna expect a subset of names. I am predicting the scores of fantasy matchups. I don't have an example yet. Maybe if I can figure out a good place to run it. But actually, this is actually an interesting place to look at it. Just in this pipeline. So basically, I have every player on a fantasy roster, and the idea is I predict, like I simulate what they could have scored in that week at random, basically based on their Fantasy Pros ranking. So this is the Fantasy Pros ranking that's pulled in when you run the function, and then it generates a prediction, basically like sampling, like using this ECR and their position, what is the range of outcomes for that player, draw from that range of outcomes at random. So the idea is you would do this over like 1,000 weeks or something, 100 seasons, and basically the idea is you would draw that number of weeks. So for the first week in this model, you know, Burrow would have been injured, but Darnold managed to put up 30 points. Newton put up 15. That's just based on their outcomes at rank 26 and 28, so quite lucky. But Mac Jones played, so it's not checking that Cam and Mac are on the same team. It's really just saying, okay, so a fantasy quarterback of this ranking would have put up this if they played. Obviously, you know, you theoretically wouldn't have Cam and Mac, but that's besides the point. And you do this for every player like 1,000 times. There's no account of the defense. So basically how the simulation works is I basically look at the ADP outcomes. So basically every quarterback who was ever ranked number 1 in the preseason is in quarterback 1. Every quarterback who's ever been ranked quarterback 12 is in quarterback 12. And then I look at the number of fantasy points that ranking scored over the course of 2015 to 2020 or 2010 to 2020, and then say, okay, so here's you know, a vomit of 250 outcomes that they could have done. And basically I'm going to draw from that with replacement, so bootstrap resampling from that range of outcomes to generate like a list of like 1,000 potential leaks based on the fact that they were ranked in the preseason quarterback 12. It's actually like, if they're quarterback 12, I draw from quarterback 11 and quarterback 13, kind of to bulk the sample. But the idea is that I draw that many times, and then I also draw a probability that they play the game, also based on this ranking, based on the Fantasy Pros ranking. I draw the probability that they play a game, so kind of draw like a random our binomial sample where 80% of the time, 89% of the time the quarterback will play the game and 10% of the time they don't. Just kind of draw from that at random also. And so basically when I draw this, the pre-processed data has both the weekly outcomes and the probability they play a game. So Albert Wilson being ranked ECR 159 for a receiver means there's a 33% chance he plays any game. Yeah, so I'm making a synthetic data set of outcomes over the course of 1,000 weeks. We'll kind of approach the correct season outcome in terms of total points. And yeah, so this simulated data kind of gets it gets fed into simulate 1,000 weeks of this, and then we're going to figure out the best lineup, so figure out the best ball score of that lineup, and then we're going to match teams up to a schedule, and then just run that lineup against head to head over however many schedules, and then you kind of have a simulation summary. And I can probably actually run one here. And it will, whoa, wait, stop. Okay, and it will spit out the mean, median, and all the seasons that you could have come through. And when you're looking at that, it will kind of give you a sense of the range of outcomes based on your team. You can use it to study how to pick the best players for a team. Take your generated predictions for a given roster and the starter positions, and then calculate win rate for positions, broadly you wouldn't be able to analyze the specifics for a given player, but you would be able to look at, so this is how the table comes out, and over the course of that summary simulation, I didn't assign it. That would be much more useful. Jarek, thanks for the sub. I just noticed that. That's awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So once it's finished, I'll actually be able to pull it up when I do this, but the idea would be that it gives you like a mean score based on your Fantasy Pros ranking, generates like a range of outcomes for your team, and you can kind of look at like the general distribution of outcomes instead of looking at like somebody's projection. Yeah, I think this is new. This idea kind of like, it's something that I've talked with Joe for quite a while, but I think it's really interesting for roster construction. But the idea is, okay, so this is season 1, and like this is a season. Actually, I should show you the simulation summary first. So this is the this is a simulation for, like, this is a summary of all 100 seasons. The average, so the mean head-to-head wins for Indigo Plateau Elite is 11, and so that's an 83% win rate based on that. And then the all play wins is 127. So the more you run, the closer your all play becomes your your head-to-head win percentage. And then your mean points for is going to be like this, and your points against, and your potential points is this. So basically, it also simulates kind of the same random methodology. It also simulates owner efficiency. So basically, the mean owner efficiency is like 77.5%, with a standard deviation of 5%, more or less. So when you pick a player at random, like when you set your lineup, the expected efficiency rate is about 77%, and then there could be weeks where you have an 82% efficiency rate, and there could be weeks that you don't, like have like a 70%, and that's just luck of the draw. But the idea is that it would converge around that 77.5% kind of range, which is kind of where I put it, and basically gives you kind of this like very reasonable looking projections. And then you can also analyze, like, okay, so what does it take for, you know, like how many seasons is it that I can go undefeated? Well, there's 14 seasons, so in 4 of 100 I go undefeated, and then in 1 of 100 this team goes 8 and wins 8 out of the 14. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of like simulates like the range of outcomes so that you can kind of see, okay, so this is how your team did. But there's more you can do with this, because that's the team level. There's, you know, week level data that you can look at in terms of like what's the, like, broadly what's the best this team could potentially score. You know, this team could score 300 in offense, or 250 or whatever. And you can also look at like raw data, which is like the player level stuff, and say, okay, so here's all the week outcomes that was used. It would simulate this. Wait, summary week should have an optimal lineup calculation, and I think it should have a rosters as well, but I don't think I see it. So the idea here is that you would be able to like look at, you know, players that contributed to your optimal lineup, and generate predictions and so on. So, you know, it generates this list, and then you can kind of browse how the simulation went, and kind of look through like 100 seasons of various team constructions, various like league constructions. If you're looking at that, like, you know, what difference does it make? Like, how do you change your approach if you have, you know, X set of positions instead of starting 2 running backs and 3 receivers? If you started 1 and 1 and 5 flex, this would let you kind of test that. Yeah, in theory. In practice, I don't. I haven't. My brain is not in the space to think about that at the moment. But this is sort of gives you kind of like a very brute force testing method, um, where it takes Fantasy Pros rankings. So like instead of taking rankings and saying, okay, so this is the average score for this ranking. Well, your distribution of scores is quite random, right? So running backs could be more injured, or some positions are just generally more volatile. So sometimes it's good to have a whole bunch of volatility. Sometimes it's not. Yeah. So that's what that is and why I'm doing it. Very brief when to use simulation techniques versus linear regression or machine learning. I think it's just a different approach. You wouldn't want to feed this data directly into machine learning because it's kind of randomized. I guess you could. It's kind of like Bootstrap. It's kind of like Bootstrap resampling in terms of like testing your model. I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know. I would look at this kind of from a stats perspective first, maybe. Like I would just like I haven't even like thought about looking at this. I want to see all the full distribution, all the outcomes instead of exactly. I want to look at the full distribution of all the outcomes instead of finding the expected mean of the predicted value. Yeah, you can, and it will give you that, but it will also show you like the distribution of outcomes and kind of understanding like range of outcomes for a player based on like their rank and your scoring settings and so on as well. So that's primarily what and why, and kind of give you a sense of like, okay, so these teams are close. Like, you always hear about like dynasty teams where like you're a contender. Well, are you actually? And in what percentage of leagues are you a contender? Because if things break correctly, then yes, you would be a contender. But if things don't, and in what probability of leagues, like in what probability of simulations that you don't make the playoffs, so then should you be rebuilding? Or should you be pushing forward when you don't think you're a contender, but somehow your team, by redraft projections, which this uses redraft Fantasy Pros rankings only, and so if redraft ranks think your team is like top quartile and you make the playoffs 80% of the time, you should push in, right? Like that's sort of like you can sort of make those decisions with this kind of thing, or kind of study that. Kind of building tools to study that. I have a tool called Crystal Ball that uses all play like within the same season, like basically your all play for that season, to use that to project the rest of the season. But this is kind of like a more robust off-season version. So that's kind of what the motivations are for this. Okay, I was quite wordy. I still want to finish this, so let's get back to it. Slightly less fun. Projected scores. So you got projected scores. The things that we need in projected scores in optimized lineups are franchise ID, player ID, pause, projected score. I stream twice a week. I stream twice every weekend. I stream Saturdays at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, probably till 11, more or less. And then tomorrow I stream 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Kind of like a. We're in the middle of a triple header of our streamers at that point. Afton Steps streams from 11 to 1. I stream from 1 to 3, and then Jesse Mostapak streams 3 to 5, something like that. There are a ton. You haven't met all the other art programmers? Yeah, there are tons of art programmers. There's tons of other streamers, so you should follow me, obviously. This is Jesse, and there's Afton. So she's also streaming. She also streams. So these people don't stream sports data. They just stream data. Our podcast Thank you for the sub. Really appreciate it. I do data science stuff for work. Yes, I am a data developer, which basically means I build shiny apps internally and do data research. Um, I do like data internal tools, research, build tools for a home building company here in Ottawa. Um, oh my goodness, there's so many more. AK Longwear. These are not leak code. Like everybody here does data science. Like, and mostly, like everyone I've just listed does stuff in R. You should also follow Nick Wan. Hang on. Also follow Nick Wan. He does Python. So not R. But he has a data science competition called Sliced right now. That is very, very much worth watching. Basically, it's kind of that like it's like a Kaggle. He does Kaggle challenges. It's kind of like a Kaggle challenge thing, where he's got like relatively famous data science people. Julia Silvey, David Robinson, Jesse Mostapak is also on that. So yeah, so I would recommend that. And oh my goodness, what else do I want to recommend to you? You should join the Discord. You should join the NFL Discord if you haven't heard of that. Bing. And join the NFL Verse Discord. Okay, now that I have finished spamming all of the various things, we will continue. Oh, you're not super interested in sports data. Okay, yeah, so that's an NFL sports data thing. There's all kinds of data stuff. Carisi kind of has a better list of stuff. So go to her site, and she has a website and stuff. About data science streamer. But yeah, I stream exclusively R programming, data science, package dev, shiny apps, for the most part. I basically just, this is stuff I would work on anyway, and this is just stuff I work on, so I would just turn the camera on, just work. So sometimes it's it's mostly interesting. I try to keep it interesting, but a lot of the time it's just me like plugging away on things I care about. Okay, so we got generate predictions. It generates stuff. Good enough. Okay, and I want to feed those projected scores into the cache. Oh my goodness, yeah, I mean, you should join Sliced. And basically that's just, actually you should, so first of all, my recommendation is just start streaming. I think you'll learn if you don't like it, but for the most part, it's just, I just do things I would do anyway. I don't do it as an obligation to teach. I don't, like, I do teach and kind of, not teach, but like, I do spend a lot of time helping out mentoring and kind of tutoring on R4DS Slack community. I think it's very worthwhile, but I don't do this stream because I want to teach. Table and specific columns. I don't do this because I want to teach. I do this because I want to A, share my work, B, kind of have that motivation to do stuff. And I find it like motivating, just I want to do X, like now or whatever, and I don't think like I would have like the dedication to do something for 4 hours every week. Like 4 hours every week is not an insignificant thing, and I do get like a good chunk of stuff done sometimes, you know. Parallel false. Stat consulting. So just lurk in so Tuesdays, every Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern or 8:30 Eastern, Nick Wan streams Slice, which is a data science competition that you should absolutely check out because it's basically kind of like game show host style. Like people are narrating, kind of explaining what's going on, and between 4 different people. So I think it's very worth it. I'm working on writing some tests for an R package, and I'm writing yeah, it's like Chopped but for data science. So yeah, basically there's 2 people watching, narrating, commenting, like, poking at stuff, and they get 2 hours to basically run through a whole Kaggle competition, also like do data viz, and kind of present their conclusions. So it's really quite interesting actually, and it runs for the rest of the summer. I think we're in like lap 2, something like that. Very worth it. Uh-oh. Why are you dead? Gosh. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Fine. But I just finished showing, sorry, Vanity Showcase. I kind of got distracted there. I am working on a package for simulating fantasy football seasons. And basically, you can check it out here. But basically, I'm just finished writing. I'm writing some tests to make sure that the behavior stays consistent. Does a lot of my work build? I do. I'm kind of like the first data scientist at my company, so I do a lot of like building the data infrastructure, building tools to help people make decisions. I build like moderately complex models, like fairly simple, really, like not like machine learning, like not like super machine learning kind of stuff, but just kind of putting them in position to move to that next step in the data science chain afterwards. Yeah. Optimal scores parallel, and I want to test these. So optimal scores in this case is going to be, it's going to need to return. Yeah. He's fun. That is a, yeah, I'm like a BI. I do data science BI mix stuff. I'm kind of the first data person, so I do a lot of like, cleaning, munging, data warehousing, all kinds of stuff. I'm not like a specific. I'm not like professionally like a data modeler or like a machine learning engineer or something. I'm more of a generalist data person. But yeah, so Afton must have streamed Tidy Tuesday data. She streams just before me, so kind of have a little raid train, and then I raid Jesse very shortly after that, and it's all good. Okay. In this case, you're going to return franchise ID, franchise name, and optimal score, optimal lineup. lineup efficiency and actual score. You know, SQL and Tableau. Build a data team. I mean, it is a in-demand field right now. I am unsurprised. Are you looking to switch careers right now, or change jobs? Not necessarily switch careers. Um, but yeah, I mean, right now I think people are starting to like get back out of the hiring freeze that COVID was, which is a good thing. Very happy to hear that. Checkmate. Expect. Uh. So I'm just gonna check that the best ball score works, and by that I mean I want to check that the best ball score is equal to the actual score, which is equivalent. Predict equal. There we go. And I think that's the only difference. Yeah. And then I want to pass optimal scores into cache optimal scores. Cache optimal scores. Just doing healthcare data analyst stuff. But your place isn't nearly as generous. Yeah. Did you end up taking the interview? I think that's awesome. Very happy for you. That's great. I don't think like I think it's very true that like companies don't promote, like they don't increase pay very well internally anymore. I think that's still true. Schedules and teams rosters. So cash. So like you end up having to like you have to employer switch to get the money these days. Like I think that's very true. Unique. Right. We're gonna build 2 seasons of 10. Turns a Tibble. Specific columns. Oh. Poop. Okay. And it's gonna be a tibble of length. Or, not in my day job. I have thought about using it, but I'm still kind of. So I career switched into data, and like from being a property manager, so very like not like business side, but not very data and stats. So I'm kind of still building out my like stats background and domain knowledge. So I don't directly do. So that's kind of why I work through the BI stuff mostly. So that's sort of where my expertise is, and not very, not from like this statistics computational side where you would expect people to be a little more comfortable with H2O kind of stuff. I've like looked at it, but I haven't like done anything serious with it. So, but wait, 240 variable observations of 4 variables. There should be 9 teams times 2 times 10. It's supposed to yeah, I mean, in theory, yes. Wait, what? 240 observations of... Oh no, there's 11 teams. So 11... So there should be 12 times 2 times 10. Okay, got it. Yeah, 240. Okay. Okay. And I want this expect subset thing, but it should just have season, week, team, opponent. Okay. Good. A lot of colleagues are experts in Bayesian stats, and I'm the outlier. Yeah. So everything I know about Bayesian stats is literally me following Chelsea Parlett on Twitter. That is about it. Yeah, Eric does simulations. You do simulations mostly, you said? Is that similar to this? Kind of. Not really the same, I guess. I feel like professional like this is kind of like a casual bootstrap kind of thing. I don't think this would be very similar. Yeah, that makes sense. Healthcare, you said. Simulation feels we've never seen this before. Yeah, I mean, once I write this, I don't feel like you would need to really understand. Like, you'll probably want to understand what it's doing, but there's a lot of code, and I think it's like a kind of, at least it's like the first pass at simulating stuff, more so than like the real way. Like there's better ways. Like there's like, you know, Bayesian, like actual like Stan and like other better ways of simulating stuff. But I think this is close-ish. Empty test. Okay, perfect. So, I expect tibbles from all of those. 13, 13, 240. So, wait, 13. Why didn't that join? That's not good. Oh, I'm already in recover. I can just run it. Okay, so I have the scores thing. So why aren't you behaving the way I want? So I have a schedule ID and scores. And then matchups, group by data and team. Okay, so that's not good. So why is this season thing not right? So left joined by team and N. Matchups is schedules. Schedules has week. Schedules has a week but not N? No, that's not right. What happened here? So these matchups are supposed to join onto this scores table, but it looks like one of the weeks isn't working. Why would it not work? What's happening here again? So you got scores. It gives you 120 observations of 11 variables, which means every team has performance for 10 weeks calculated. And it doesn't know anything about seasons at that point. Matchups. If you group by team, mutate n equals row number, you get also 1 to 20. But there should only be 10. No, there should be 20. Why are my scores short? Because I said why are my scores short? Why are there only 120 there? Projected scores, generate. Oh, I put 10 weeks of... I only put 10 weeks of data here when I wanted 20. Okay. Stop, the world is not ending. The world is not ending. Okay. Alright. So... joining data in R is weird? I don't know. I find it pretty natural. But I could just be weird. I think it's weird because of the pipe. Probably. You'd probably find it weird because of the pipe. Which is kind of non-syntactical for... There. Much better. Okay. Alright, so... the season should have 240, the week should have 12, the season should have 24 total seasons, and the week should have... I totally put those in the wrong order. So 240, 24 seasons, and 12 in the simulation. Okay, and then I want the names of these to include... where is... dput names summary season. We'll just do this the lazy way because it's already after 10. I wanted to have more of this done. Pandas is weird compared to SQL. I think this lines up a lot more with SQL than Pandas would. At least the dplyr part. The joins in R, I do miss some of the things that I can do in SQL when joining things in R. Things like joining on null. So like join where this is empty. I really miss in R. But aside from that, I don't know that the joins are weird. Is it the joins that are weird, really? Simulation. Okay. So we have most of the tests. Okay, so let's run this test. It should pass, and it should actually work decently quickly. We got warnings, and we got actual as a character vector. Summary functions, not true. Check on this, not true. I want to label this probably, so... this one? One failure. The message was weird, so I should fix that. Summary season. Okay, so run all these tests. It should, quote unquote, just work. We have a warning. We have masked is no. It's attaching per, which I don't want necessarily. Why are you being attached? Oh, it's attaching fur, not per. Wait. Fur? Does it attach per? Is that what happens? Alright, rerun those tests. It attached per after that, and it masked is no. Why did it attach per? I do like how much faster it can test these little components. The other one took a lot longer to do, which is not great. Okay, parallel processing was specified, no future plan was found, continuing sequentially. I should expect a warning. I should run expect warning on that. Or message. And I still don't see what attached per. Future map? Does future map attach per? Wait. Or future map. Okay, so it's not described there. Template. Okay, we got wrappers, we got args, we got extract. Whoa. Future is crazy. Is there a namespace? Namespace. No. Is there attached namespace here? Namespace. Okay, I think that weird, but we'll just roll with it. Okay, so we've written the tests. I don't know what the new code cov is. I don't know if I actually... Did I make a code cov label? Okay, so let's push the tests. So git status, git add tests, git status. We're gonna remove inst for now. Remove rf inst. Git status, git add data raw, git status. I think there are a few changes we made, maybe? Git diff r. So there's that, and then there's this suppress messages after required namespace, and that didn't actually even solve this continuing sequentially message, but we're just gonna roll with it. Okay, so git add r, git status, git document, git add man. I want to reknit this, so we're gonna do that. And then do this. Knit the readme. Okay, so I'm just pushing it to GitHub, not only because I'm tired and want to make sure I don't forget to do that, but also because I want to see if I want to see if the actions work. So that's packaged down. I should have a cmd check action, which I'm going to run, and we'll see if the package just works or whatever. And we'll also test coverage at the same time. Kind of creeping towards 100% coverage if we can. Probably once we figure out the API testing. But I don't want to run the API testing on Crayon necessarily. Okay, so still didn't finish as much as I wanted to do. I basically just rewrote all the tests, so I'm kind of still stuck on this stage. I want to write some vignettes, which will probably be tomorrow's stream. Again, I'm not really feeling creative, so I'll probably work on this tomorrow. 1 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. 1 to 3 p.m. tomorrow. And I think I'm going to try to work on autoplot, and that's going to be basically like run ffsimulate, and then you can just pass that object right into autoplot, and it will, presuming that you have ggplot2 installed, it will namespace works. Yeah, the plan thing. Yeah, I'm gonna look at that in a sec. Presuming that you have ggplot2 installed, it will kind of determine like what I think is a pretty good basic plot for a simulation. So probably a ridge plot. So it might need GG ridges, which is okay, I think. But basically, I want to try to set some smart defaults based on the ffsimulate object. Kind of convert it from just being a regular list into an ffsimulate S3 class object. That way I can write an autoplot function for the ffsimulate simulation object. And that can go in the basic usage vignette because. So 2.5. Yeah, so I'm gonna wait and check out these checks. Kind of just waiting. It's a little bit like watching paint dry. Actually, so while we wait, I'm gonna look at. I think I just saw an email come in about a draft. So let's look at the draft. I'll use grid here. Okay, so still a long ways back to my turn. I'm all the way back here, but you've got Traquan Smith, I think, and is that Javian Hawkins? Yeah, it is. Hot damn. Okay. That's a weird pick. Still really early. There's gotta be better running backs on the board instead of Javian Hawkins. Oh well. We'll see what happens. There's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I get 2 of the next 12. So looking forward to that, but it obviously won't happen tonight. Okay, so it is installing a bunch of dependencies, which is okay. Whoa, things everywhere. Whew. Rondell Moore just went, which is disappointing, but it looks like it's only 10:30, so I feel tired, but I've been up for quite a while, so looks like our league chat says it's moving a little bit slowly, but we're moving. One guy just got off a plane apparently, so that is cool. Test coverage, all jobs have failed. Wait. All these checks passed? Adding dependency in R 3.5.0 because serialized objects in serialized load version 3 cannot be read in old versions of R. Okay, cool. We'll bump that up. I can change that. That's no problem. Building. Yes, this is me. That's cool. Test that ran okay. Okay, nice. Fast, which is nice because I wrote more minimal tests this time. So okay, so this just told me I need to have R 3.5, which again, I have our 4.1, but we're just gonna roll with that. And I think I want to suggest ggplot2. Actually, I'm just gonna do this from my local. I don't know why I'm doing it there. I will leave that for a minute. Okay, so the check just told me that I should have 3.5 because the RDS files that I wrote are only readable in R3.5. So who am I to say no? And I also want to do so I don't have a test for HTTP test yet, but I want to do ggplot. F comes before G, ggplot2, and ggridges. And I'm going to prefix it. Use this, use latest dependencies. So it's gonna need R3 point. I mean, ggplot doesn't need to be that good. Let's say 3.0, and we'll take the most recent minor version of ggridges. And basically, if you have both ggplot2 and ggridges, you will be allowed to run the autoplot function. Okay, let's bump this up a version. That still doesn't do anything. Okay, so now, why did my package down fail? Or, my package down didn't fail, my test coverage failed. Test coverage failed, no method of group by applies to class null. Summary of functions return tibble. You what, mate? Why are you broken? Why are you broken, rather? Okay. We'll push those description changes. We'll commit those description changes. So status git add description. Why did all the other tests work but not the cover test? That's the weird bit. GitHub workflows test coverage. Okay, so you run on that. This must use a different flow. So what I'm gonna do is copy all of this stuff. Okay, so these should be parallel to... These should be like equivalent to the other one. So ideally, it just works. So let's see. Updates to package stuff. Hey, the fantasy draft is moving. It must be, everyone else must be still awake. That's a bad message. Let's name it better. What are we gonna say? Updates to description. And code cov workflow. Try it. Okay. So since we last looked, Traycon Smith meant, which actually I think we saw already, Javian Hawkins meant, which I talked about. Rondale Moore. Okay. A little jealous. Yeah, that's a good pick, I think. Well, at least I'm excited about Rondale Moore this year. I got Drew Lock. And Christian Kirk just went. Looks like the league is moving, which is surprising given that it's nearly 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, but it seems to be going, so we'll take it. Install my stuff. Okay, that worked better. Wait, it's this one that I want. I just moved these repos. Is it going to be a pain? You are going to be a pain. How do I add an organization and give it the token? Okay, yes, log in. We got that, yeah. Orgs. Okay, so it needs another organization, I think. How does one... code cov add org. I'm kind of coming back around to the same thing again, aren't I? Uh-oh. We're gonna go over here. Hey, it looks like they're actually moving. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to change the token. Integrations, you got Netlify, our universe, where's secrets? Update with a new secret. Okay. Wait, make sure the secret window is closed. Yep. Good. Okay, so just rerun the code cove. Yes. Yes. I want to use it as an indicator of how far I need to go. 83% for the Dynasty Process one. So that one will break very shortly. But I should change all of these badges. So update readme badges. Update readme badges. So there's a few things here. We got that one. We're gonna change the link to ffverse. We're gonna change that's lifecycle stays same. This action workflow is gonna be this one. Okay. And knit. Okay, good. Okay. Alright, so this kind of gives me a sense of what I need to do to kind of continue extending and covering more of the code. I imagine there are chunks of code that aren't being tested that we should look at, like this rankings thing, and something in summaries isn't being tested. Something in simulate isn't being tested. A lot of these assertions aren't being tested. So, mean, I don't need to test that the assertion works, so as long as it's... I mean, we could call it, but... Yeah, so I think those would all be covered if we do the API call. Pretty sure. Like the integration testing. Okay, so we'll do that at some point. I'll need to update the README. I want to update the README to get this roadmap stuff sorted. But I want to move autoplot up to tomorrow's work. We'll write that function and then we'll add integration testing. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Been a little while. Is anyone in stream? Is anyone still watching? Do we want to go somewhere? Anybody? If not, I'm just gonna sign off. I don't care to... Well, we'll figure out someone we can raid. Perhaps, but it is quite late, so... Honestly, I'm just gonna call it a night. Because it's after 11. Thank you for coming in, everybody. Really appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow if you're there, and otherwise have a great weekend.